Okay, so the summer vacation is pretty much over at this point, and it did have to consist of two parts wrapped around two exams on the 11th and 13th of August. But in the 3 weeks before that, we did a nice little bicycle vacation, going from home a little bit into Germany and then back. We actually intended to end up in Berlin at the end of the vacation, but that didn't happen because of those two exam resits that I had on 11th and 13th of August. So let's talk about the vacation for a little moment and where we did end up. So the vacation started with cycling to Driebergen and Rijsenburg and Zeist and having several round trips over there until we got the correct way. Apparently my mum was using an old map to the Henschotermeer. On nearby campsite we stayed that day, as well as during a couple earlier bicycle vacations, all the way since 2014 when we got started. However, on the way it started raining and we had to seek shelter below a tree, which is not ideal. Despite that, we were able to arrive and spend the night at the campsite. There was a problem, however. We had a defective sleeping mat. You can see on the photo here. The Imtech Sinmat sleeping mat had seams going along the length of the mats, and they broke on mine, causing a giant bulge to form. It became so big that I couldn't sleep on it. Fortunately, a neighbour of ours actually had the solution. They borrowed us a pair of their half-full sleeping mats, and they did sleep quite well. So from here on until very close to the Dutch-German border, where we met a friend of my mom, was mostly one day of cycling followed by another day of cycling. There was pretty much no rest. It was just back-to-back cycling. But I did take a couple rest breaks along the way and some nice photos as well, as you can see here. And about every 30 kilometers we arrived at the campsites, including one that actually sat next to a recreational harbour. And then this is the last day we had in the Netherlands, in 's Heerenberg, and over there we stayed at a friend of my mother for about 2 nights, and we did the laundry. And the day after we arrived, we went to a castle, 's Heerenberg. From there we took a little walk through the little village and came across a plaque for the last person to have ever been convicted for witchcraft. And then in general we just explored around the old town and a pair of churches. I don't really have any photo of it, but we did cross into the German border and the town of Emmerich as well. And this is one of the first signs that we've entered Germany, a beer keller. From that point we went past Wunderland Kalka, an abandoned nuclear power plant turned into a amusement park. Beyond that point we made a couple navigational errors, including going a bridge too far, and ultimately took a ferry to the town of Rees, where we also found a nice campsite. Well, I say nice, it was quite old and run down. I even found an abandoned caravan and took some photos of the inside. It was completely empty, as if it were about to be stripped. The day thereafter we cycled through a town called Xanten to do some groceries, and then towards a campsite in Wesel. Quite a beautiful town actually, with the easel as the main icon of the city. Der Esel von Wesel. From there on we went to Schermberg over a disused piece of railway between Hamburg and Venlo, and we did another 2 nights in Dingender at the campsite Dingender Meer. I didn't really swim too much in the area, but I was able to wade in the water a little bit and have a general relaxing day. And also a very weird raisin bread. Normally they are round, but this one from Dingender Meer looked like the one you see here, of course. On the same day we ate that though, all fun things had to come to an end. But not quite abruptly. We cycled back into the Netherlands via Aalten and visited the National Onderduikersmuseum at the very interesting Markt 12 address. In Markt 12 used to be a home with the Nazi officers on the lower floor and an illegal press on the upper ones, back during World War II. From there on we cycled through the Achterhoek into a campsite first that actually had a small windmill on the premises as well that we visited. In fact, we were even allowed to enter the windmill, have a look at the way it worked, as well as to come very close to the wings of the mill, 2 of which are kind of like aircraft wings in a way. From there onwards, we came across another couple interesting things. For instance, a beer garden in the Netherlands, and a traffic light that is activated by farmers when cows have to cross the road. When we left the Achterhoek, we entered back into the area close to home, a natural reserve called the Veluwe, where we actually visited the National Park, the Hoge Veluwe and the Kröller-Müller Museum. From there it was a brisk way back home. There were a couple more noteworthy things on the rainbow. For instance, did you know that in the Achterhoek there's actually a copy, knockoff, whatever, a village sharing the name with a much larger city that's actually a little bit further up north? It is Hengelo! And it was right in the middle of our cycle route. Not only that, but we met a pensioned World War II survivor there. Another interesting side note, as far as I know, at the border between the Achterhoek and the Veluwe lies the city of Zutphen. When we arrived there though, we had difficulty finding a place to set up our tent nearby. So what we ended up doing, because it was raining so hard and it was so late at this time, was we cycled to the train station there, and then we took our bicycle into a train with final destination Apeldoorn. But we got off at the in-between station Voorst Empe and found a campsite there instead. And well, then all of a sudden we were back home and I had to prepare for and then take 2 resits. One of which I passed, and the other one, despite having done my best to prepare for it, failed. But that wasn't the problem. I didn't know it at the time. I thought both of them went alright. But then, after those, almost immediately after, we went for a second small bicycle vacation, a week to the coast. Of course, this trip started from home as well, and we went straight to Katwijk aan Zee. Well, not straight away, via a couple of small villages along the way, and not 1, not 2, but 3 ferries that we took on the last way to the coastal village. On the way we cycled quite closely to Amsterdam and came across a very interesting lock that actually had to close a pedestrian gate to open. In general, the cycling trip was quite beautiful. Even once we arrived there, we had a little rain trip over in Katwijk. And the day after that, we went to Wassenaar for the Wassenaar voor Linden Museum of Modern Art. And the day afterwards, we went into the beach of Katwijk itself. I actually took quite a couple nice photos of the sunsets as well. Unfortunately, whilst I was on the Katwijk beach, it was getting a bit windy, so we ended up not carrying any electronic devices with us, so there's no footage of this, but trust me if I tell you, I absolutely enjoyed the day there. I can tell you in the meantime though, that one of the more notable things that we came across in the Voor Linden Museum in Wassenaar, for instance, was a swimming pool you stood inside instead of swimming in. And another one are two very small elevators or lifts that we came across. And overall, it was a very beautiful place to be. But after 3 nights of staying in Katwijk, it was time to return back home, of course. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do, please give a thumbs up and share this video with all your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.